Have you ever seen this before in your life?
What?
Chances are your answer is no.
Yes.
It looks really weird, like something you see in a treasure hunt movie, only that this is real.
Damn.
The Ethiopian Bible is one of the most mysterious and controversial books that ever existed. Even the country itself is shrouded in mysteries that can't be explained, but that's a story for another day. Ethiopia is home to one of the oldest civilizations in the world, and is the only country in Africa that was not colonized, and because of that, they can trace their lineage all the way back to Ham, one of the sons of Noah. This has even been collaborated with the Jews. But this video is not about the country itself, but about what the country possesses. Ethiopia has some of the oldest Bible scrolls that ever existed, even older than the famous KJV Bible. Other than the 66...
Guys, this is super interesting. If you've just landed, smash that like button, because this is I'm onto some other new stuff. So thank you for the video request to my subscriber, but this stuff is about to get biblical. Up in here. Goodness me, man. Let's see that Ham stuff again.
It's one of the most mysterious and controversial books that ever existed. Even the country itself is shrouded in mysteries that can't be explained, but that's a story for another day. Ethiopia is home to one of the oldest civilizations in the world, and is the only country in Africa that was not colonized, and because of that, they can trace their lineage all the way back to Ham, one of the sons of Noah.
Crazy.
This has even been collaborated with the Jews. But this video is not about the country itself, but about what the country possesses. Ethiopia has some of the oldest Bible scrolls that ever existed, even older than the famous KJV Bible. Other than the 66 books that make up the King James Bible, the Ethiopic Bible has 88 books and includes some works that other churches just don't have. The book has scrolls from the Old Testament, the New Testament, and scrolls that had never been seen before.
That means Noah was black.
What makes this so interesting is that they had these scrolls long before Christianity first came to their society in the 4th century. In other words, Christianity wasn't a religion given to them like most nations. Christianity was already in Ethiopia. Since the 4th century, Ethiopia has been a nation of Christianity. Egyptian traveler, monk, and historian Cosmas Indicopleustes wrote that Ethiopia was a Christian country when he visited there in the middle of the 6th century. He saw how the rulers opened their borders to a lot of Christian refugees who fled to Ethiopia as they ran away from persecution from kingdoms and empires that were against Christianity. Certain Ethiopian tribes have been worshiping the Christian God for over 3,500 years. In such, the oldest organized Christian body in the world is not the Catholic ministry as many would have. You believe? But the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, which is locally known as Tewahdo in Ethiopia. The country also has one of the earliest illustrated Christian books ever found, which is a part of the Gospels written in Ge'ez, an old Ethiopian language, and was found in 2010 in a monastery on top of a mountain in Ethiopia. According to the Kebra Nagast, which is an Ethiopia's holy book, in the 10th century BC, an Ethiopian ruler and the famous biblical Queen of Sheba went to Jerusalem to ask the famous King Solomon for advice. It's even recorded in the acceptable Bible canon, but what the Bible didn't tell us is that the two rulers had a son together named Menelik. Queen Sheba took the boy back to Ethiopia and made him the first emperor. In 2012, experts looked at the genetic makeup of many Ethiopians and found some evidence to support Sheba's journey to Jerusalem and birth there. In such, it is believed that Egyptian, Israeli, or Syrian people may have mixed with the Ethiopian natives around 3,000 years ago, during the time when the queen is said to have ruled the kingdom of Sheba, collaborating the story even further. Despite having all these credentials and authenticity, the Ethiopian Bible is still discarded and not taken as part of the canon of the holy books. In fact, most people, including believers of the same faith, have never heard of the Ethiopian Bible. That's to show you the extent of what was done to discredit and hide the Ethiopian Bible. This begs to question, why? Well, to understand that, let's take a little history lesson. The Bible as we know it today wasn't actually how the Bible was in the past. There were many versions of different parts of the Bible, as well as many different interpretations and ideas of what the Bible was thought to be saying. As we all know, the Bible texts were originally written in Hebrew before being translated to other languages. The first translation was done by a man known as Saint Jerome from Hebrew to Latin. He was responsible for putting together what is known as the Vulgate around the year 400. And the Vulgate still remains the principal Latin version, or the translation of the Bible. It had 27 books called the New Testament and 39 books called the Old Testament. At that time, it was called the Hebrew Bible. You see, in the first century, many books were written about Jesus' life and teachings. However, many of them were not true. These were like fan fiction novels of the account of Jesus' life. The problem was that when these books were written and released to the public ended up believing those fan fiction books were actually real. There was no internet to quickly fact-check these books, and as we know, fake news travels faster than real news. So you can only imagine the scores of fake books that were in society and the damage it did. This became a worry for leaders in the early Christian church. They met at the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, and the First Council of Constantinople in 381 AD, to choose which books would be added to the New Testament. They decided that a book was scripture if it was written by one of Jesus' followers, or someone who saw him teach. The book also had to have been written in the first century and make sense with the rest of the Bible. There have been many changes to what we now call the Holy Bible, but the most important change may have happened during the reign of King James I. Despite the Vulgate existing for about 500 years, there were still numerous versions and accounts of the Bible, so much that it bothered the reigning monarch at that time. He was worried about the different Bible versions that were popular in the 1600s. The king wanted a version of the Bible that settled religious differences, as well as one that reinforced his power. Several priests also asked the king to make changes, saying that some of the translations that were going around were wrong. To solve this pressing issue, the king got 47 experts to look over all the different translations of the Bible that were already out there. They were split into 6 groups and worked on different parts of the project on their own for 7 years. These men had to follow strict rules so that they wouldn't show any bias. They also used a number of different tools to help them make a scientific Bible that stayed true to the original languages. When the priest and the king looked at the works of these experts and saw that they had similarities in their work, depth being far from each other, they approved it, giving glory to God for guiding them to arrive at the same conclusion. In 1611, the King James Bible was published, and because of advancements made in printing, it became one of the most accessible Bible versions to date. So these edits made in the King James Bible and the original Vulgate translation made by Saint Jerome saw to it that some books were not included in the Bible most Christians have today, while the Ethiopian Bible still retains all scripture. Now that we've taken a short course on the Bible's history, it's time to answer the major question of why the Ethiopian Bible was rejected. There are a lot of diverse reasons why the Ethiopian Bible isn't accepted, but the major reason is because the Ethiopian Bible includes additional books known as pseudepigraphs. Pseudepigrapha are falsely attributed works, texts whose claimed author is not the true author, or works whose real author attributed it to a figure of the past. Like fan fiction. Pseudepigrapha are considered non-canonical by most other Christian traditions. The books that were removed or rejected were ones that scribes and theologians of the time already knew were not divinely inspired. Many people before and after Jesus wrote these books with evil intentions, and I understand their reasons for removal. Take, for example, if someone today released a book and said Kobe Bryant isn't a great athlete, the book would be a great failure, and the author would receive lots of backlash because we know that is false. Truth. Yeah. But give that book 500 years, and when someone in that timeline sees that book, people in that era could start to think that Kobe Bryant do actually suck. So, to prevent such lies from spreading into the future, we root it out now. Now, even the Ethiopian Bible has 2 canons, the broader and narrow canon. But before we go into it, first, let me define what a canon is. A canon is a generally accepted law, rule, principle, or criterion by which something is judged. So with that in mind, it's canon for a phone to have one screen, a country, one president, this channel, more subscribers. The broader and famous canon has 81 books. In this popular version, we have Enoch, the Jubilees, the three books by Maccabees, Epistle to Clement, 4 books of Synodos, and a whole lot more. This is the one the video is mostly about, and the one that is a bit famous. The narrow canon, on the other hand, was overseen by Emperor Haile Selassie. He created the narrow version and publicly proclaimed that this was the official and completed version of the Ethiopian Bible.
Okay.
The reason for this, unfortunately, I can't say because it might cause a misunderstanding and a war in the comment section. But all I will say is, look him up on the internet and do your research and see the truth for yourself. The narrow canon version doesn't have some scriptures that are found in the broader version. It just has 72 books in it. While the broader canon has everything the narrow canon has and more, the broader canon has not been reprinted since the early...
Guys, this is all literally new information. Apart from the Book of Enoch, I've come across the book. I haven't read it or anything, but I've come across the Book of Enoch. Heard some he say, she say stuff around it. But let me know in the comment section, is this new for anybody else as well? Because for me, it is completely new. All of this stuff that he's naming, listing, some of these, no idea.
Was overseen by Emperor Haile Selassie. He created the narrow version and publicly proclaimed that this was the official and completed version of the Ethiopian Bible. The reason for this, unfortunately, I can't say because it might cause a misunderstanding and a war in the comment section. But all I will say is, look him up on the internet and do your research and see the truth for yourself.
Fact check.
The narrow canon version doesn't have some scriptures that are found in the broader version. It just has 72 books in it. While the broader canon has everything the narrow canon has and more, the broader canon has not been reprinted since the early 20th century. So already you can see that even within itself there were already controversies, and having 2 different versions could also contribute to it not being accepted. The Ethiopian canon is a great way to see how the Bible has changed over time. Contrary to popular belief, the Bible isn't just one book. It's more of a collection of texts and experiences written over many years. And that's where the problem kind of lies. Different religious groups, including the verified or accepted ones, have a long history of excluding or including different texts or copies based on different theological/personal grounds. For example, the Bible we know today was mostly written in the 4th and 5th centuries AD. By that time, Christianity in Ethiopia had already begun to differ from Christianity in Europe and the surrounding area of the Mediterranean, and till date, the difference keeps getting wider. The Ethiopian Bible has a lot of similarities with the Catholic and Orthodox Bibles, although it does have a few extra Old Testament books. These were probably written in the last few hundred years BC, which is late in the time of the Old Testament books, but before the New Testament began. Additional books were added to the end of the New Testament after the rest of it was written. These books especially talk about the history and structure of the Ethiopian Church. Another reason for the Ethiopian Bible being rejected could be because of the language it is written in. The Ethiopian Bible was written in Ge'ez, making it difficult for non-speakers to access. Plus, the lack of translations and unique practices of the Ethiopian Bible have contributed to its relative obscurity outside of Ethiopia.
That's Christ.
The third reason is more controversial and is because of politics. Power in politics was what the Roman emperor cared about during the early days of Christianity, not spiritual growth. So, any scrolls that didn't fit with their preferred story were left out. In fact, the Bishop of Rome told the priests to destroy the scrolls that weren't in the Bible. But the priests were smart and hid many of them in vats that were found near the Dead Sea in the 1940s, which would explain the differences between both Bibles, as one version tend to have a quote-unquote complete version of the Bible and the other version have what man deemed to be all right. But in recent years, people have become more interested in the Ethiopian Bible, trying to find out what makes it special and the truth it holds. The Ethiopian churches have also worked to make it easier for more people to read by translating it into more languages and doing academic studies on it. Personally, I think it is amazing that this Bible survived this long, especially after the country was attacked by Muslims and Italy, and after a fire burned the church of the monastery where the Bible was in the 1930s.
Crazy.
And it survived it all, adding to the mystery of this book.
Wow. Guys, what do you guys think about all of this? Okay, first of all, if you're Ethiopian or if you're from there, let me know in the comment section down below. I don't have many friends from there, if at all, to be honest with you, which is now interesting, considering I've been suggested to watch this video by a random subscriber of mine. So thank you very much. But this is very interesting. A lot of knowledge. I feel like I was in class. A lot of picking up, literally paying attention silently and just watching to see what, you know, what can I pick up, what can I learn from, all of the interesting facts. This Ham guy that was mentioned in the beginning. So I don't know, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. But this is all new to me. Obviously the Bible isn't, I'm not a scholar or anything, like, you know, someone who knows tremendous amount. Look at that. I point to the Bible and it brings up the Bible at the very same time as well. So that King James version, this is the New King James version rather than the 66 books one that we just seen there. This, I'm sure, 66 as well. So let me know, guys, in the comment section, what do you think? What is your opinion on this? Where do you stand? Like, is this, if what I said about Noah, the Ham being, you know, so if he's black, is Jesus black? From what I believe, for me, just my personal opinion, just the standpoint, whether he's black or white, but we know he must have been of a darker skin color, he's still Christ and he came for everybody, you and I. So that's why you need to smash the like button and destroy that subscribe button and dwell with children of God, man. Especially if you're not Christian, if you're someone of faith, if you're an entrepreneur seeking success, going after it with all your might, then link is in the description down below. Join us. We are a group, School Never Taught SNT, a group of entrepreneurs who want to obtain success without losing God, essentially.